2,847 confirmed kills in 12 years of active duty. My sister stole my daughter during my final deployment. 20 years of patience, one perfect shot at justice. Master Sergeant Alexandra Ghost Reynolds stood at her bedroom window in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, watching the sunrise paint the desert mountains gold. At 42, her steel-gray eyes still held the predatory focus that had made her the United States Army's most lethal female sniper. 12 years of active duty, 3 combat deployments, 2,847 confirmed eliminations. But the target that had eluded her for 20 years wasn't hiding in some Afghan cave or Iraqi building. She was living comfortably in Tucson, just 2 hours south, raising the daughter she had stolen, Alexandra's sister, Miranda Reynolds Davis. The betrayal had begun 20 years ago during Alexandra's final deployment to Kandahar province. Before shipping out from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, she had made what seemed like the obvious choice, leaving her 4-year-old daughter Lily with Miranda, her only living family. Lily was Alexandra's universe compressed into 38 pounds of curiosity and unconditional love. The child's father, a college boyfriend, had vanished the moment he learned about the pregnancy. "I'm not ready for kids, especially with someone who's joining the military," he had said. Alexandra had sworn to give Lily everything she needed, even if it meant doing it alone. Miranda, 31 at the time, lived in Nashville with her husband David, a successful accountant. They had been trying to have children for years without success. To Alexandra, Miranda seemed like the perfect guardian, stable, loving, desperate for a child to nurture. That desperation would prove to be Alexandra's fatal miscalculation. The first 6 months of deployment proceeded normally. Alexandra called home religiously, watching Lily grow through pixelated video calls from a forward operating base where internet connections were as unreliable as enemy mortar schedules. Lily would press her small hands against the screen, babbling about her new school, her new friends, how much she loved Aunt Miri. Then, Miranda started laying the groundwork for theft. "Alex," she said during a call in month 7, "there's been some complications with Lily's school enrollment. They need updated guardianship paperwork." Alexandra, exhausted from a 72-hour mission tracking Taliban commanders through mountain caves, barely processed the request. "Whatever you need, just handle it." "I might need temporary legal custody," Miranda pressed, "just for official documents, insurance, medical decisions, that sort of thing." "Do whatever's necessary," Alexandra replied, her attention split between the conversation and the tactical map spread across her bunk. "Lily's welfare comes first." Miranda smiled through the video connection, but the expression never reached her eyes. 2 months later, the trap closed. Alexandra called for her weekly check-in and found Lily wasn't available. "She's at a sleepover," Miranda explained quickly. "First time away from home. She was so excited." The following week, Lily was visiting cousins in Atlanta. Week 3. Doctor's appointment ran long. She's napping now. By week 4, Alexandra's maternal instincts were screaming warnings her tactical mind couldn't ignore. She called Miranda's neighbors, Lily's school, even the local police, claiming to be worried about her sister's well-being. That's when she learned the truth that would define the next 2 decades of her life. Miranda had filed adoption papers using forged documents that portrayed Alexandra as mentally unstable, financially irresponsible, and emotionally unfit for motherhood. The paperwork cited severe combat-related PTSD, inability to maintain stable housing, and abandonment of parental responsibilities. Every document was expertly falsified, every signature perfectly forged. By the time Alexandra discovered the betrayal, it was legally complete. Miranda had moved to Arizona, changed Lily's last name to Davis, and enrolled her in new schools under a new identity. The courts had terminated Alexandra's parental rights based on fabricated evidence and her absence from the proceedings. Alexandra hired military lawyers, civilian attorneys, private investigators. She spent her entire savings, took loans against her future pension, mortgaged her integrity to anyone who promised results. The legal system, designed to protect children, had been weaponized against her with surgical precision. Every court ruled the same way. The adoption was legal, properly executed, and in the child's best interests. Alexandra was nothing more than a birth mother with no legal standing. She lost her daughter completely. Alexandra took early retirement and dedicated her life to finding them. She became a ghost in the truest sense, invisible, persistent, tracking her prey across state lines and through years of carefully constructed false identities. Her military skills, honed for eliminating enemies, proved equally effective for surveillance and investigation. For 20 years, she searched. She worked as a private security contractor to fund her obsession, taking high-paying assignments that required her particular skill set: corporate protection in South America, asset recovery in Eastern Europe, counterterrorism consulting for governments that asked no questions. The work was lucrative enough to finance an extensive network of private investigators, data brokers, and technology specialists. Alexandra had become a machine with a single purpose: finding the woman who had stolen her child. Last month, she finally succeeded. A facial recognition hit from a Tucson grocery store security camera. Miranda Reynolds Davis, now 41, still living under her married name despite divorcing David 7 years ago. Real estate agent, suburban house, active in her daughter's high school PTA. Her daughter. Lily Davis, now 24 years old, graduated from Arizona State University with a degree in elementary education. Recently married to a software engineer named Marcus Chen, working as a third-grade teacher at Saguaro Elementary School. Beautiful, successful, and completely unaware that the woman she called Mom had stolen her from her real mother. Alexandra spent weeks conducting surveillance, learning their routines, mapping their lives with the same methodical precision she had once used to track enemy commanders. Miranda left for work at exactly 8:15 a.m. every morning, returned by 6:30 p.m., spent Tuesday evenings at yoga classes. Lily visited every Sunday for family dinner, usually staying until 9 p.m. Perfect, predictable patterns, fatal for anyone Alexandra had ever been tasked to eliminate. She established a position in an abandoned office building 4 blocks from Miranda's house. 6th floor, eastern exposure, clear line of sight to Miranda's kitchen window. Distance, 447 yards, well within effective range for her Barrett M82A1, 50 caliber rifle. Alexandra had performed this calculation 2,847 times during her military career. Wind speed, humidity, target movement patterns, escape routes. She could make this shot blindfolded. For 3 weeks, she watched Miranda through her scope, studying her sister's face, now lined with age and what looked like years of unspoken guilt. Miranda had changed, softer around the edges, more careful in her movements, as if constantly expecting retribution for ancient sins. Good. She should be afraid. Alexandra's finger rested on the trigger guard, muscle memory from thousands of hours of training, making the weapon feel like an extension of her body. One squeeze, and 20 years of injustice would be corrected with the finality of physics and ballistics. But then she saw something that changed everything. On a Sunday evening in October, Lily arrived for dinner carrying a small bundle wrapped in blue blankets. Alexandra adjusted her scope and felt her world shift on its axis. A baby. Lily's baby. Alexandra's grandson, born 2 weeks ago according to the conversation she overheard through her directional microphone. Through the kitchen window, she watched 3 generations of family she had been excluded from. Miranda holding the infant with the tender expertise of a grandmother. Lily glowing with new motherhood, pointing out tiny features to Marcus, who documented everything with his phone camera. A family dinner celebrating new life, new hope, new chapters in lives that had continued without her. Alexandra's finger moved to the trigger. 1 shot. Miranda would be eliminated. Justice would be served. The woman who had stolen her daughter would pay the ultimate price for her crime. But then what? The baby would grow up without his grandmother. Lily would spend the rest of her life mourning the only mother she had ever known. Marcus would raise his son in the shadow of a tragedy that would define their family forever. Alexandra would destroy them all to satisfy her own need for revenge. Through her scope, She watched Lily kiss Miranda's cheek, thanking her for something Alexandra couldn't hear. The gesture was automatic, unconscious, the reflexive affection of a daughter who had been loved unconditionally for 20 years. Miranda had stolen Lily, but she had also raised her, had been there for first steps, first words, first heartbreaks, had taught her to drive, helped her with homework, cried at her wedding, had given her stability, consistency, presence, everything Alexandra had been unable to provide from 8,000 miles away. The hardest truth to accept was that Miranda had been a good mother. Alexandra lowered her rifle. 20 years of planning, of preparation, of patient calculation, abandoned in a moment of clarity that felt like tactical precision applied to the human heart. Revenge would be easy. Justice was more complicated. Alexandra packed her equipment and returned to her hotel room. For the first time in 20 years, she had no plan, no mission parameters, no clear objective. She had found her target, lined up the perfect shot, and chosen not to fire. What came next required a different kind of courage. She spent the following week researching Lily's life with the same methodical thoroughness she had once applied to enemy positions. Social media profiles, professional background, community involvement. Lily had become exactly the kind of person Alexandra would have hoped to raise. Compassionate, dedicated to helping children, grounded in values that emphasized service over self-interest. Miranda had given her that foundation. Alexandra made a decision that would have seemed impossible 20 years ago. She would approach them openly, honestly, without weapons or threats or demands for justice. She would tell the truth and let them decide what that truth was worth. She started with a letter. Not the vengeful manifesto she had composed in her darker moments, but a careful explanation of who she was, what had happened, and what she hoped might be possible. She wrote about the deployment that had separated them, about the legal manipulations she had discovered too late, about the 20-year search that had consumed her life. But she also wrote about her recognition of Miranda's love for Lily, her gratitude for the care her daughter had received, and her desire to be part of their lives without disrupting the family they had built. The letter took 17 drafts to get right. Alexandra mailed it to Miranda's real estate office with a simple note attached. "I'm in Tucson. When you're ready to talk, I'll be waiting at the Starbucks on Campbell Avenue every day at 3 p.m. 3 days later, Miranda walked into the coffee shop. She looked older than her surveillance photos had suggested, worn down by what Alexandra now recognized as 20 years of guilt and fear. Miranda had lived every day knowing that someday, somehow, Alexandra might find them. The stolen life she had built was constructed on the foundation of inevitable retribution. "You found us," Miranda said, sitting across from Alexandra at a corner table. "I never stopped looking." They sat in silence for several minutes, two women whose lives had been defined by a single act of betrayal. Miranda looked like she expected anger, threats, violence. Alexandra felt surprisingly calm. "I could have killed you," Alexandra said finally. "I had you in my scope for 3 weeks. Perfect shot, no witnesses, clean escape route. I've done it 2,847 times before." Miranda's hands trembled around her coffee cup. "Why didn't you?" "Because I realized that killing you would hurt Lily, and after 20 years of not being able to protect her, I wasn't going to be the one to cause her pain." "She doesn't know," Miranda said quickly, "about you, about how she came to live with me. I told her you died in the war. I have fake death certificates, memorial service programs." "I know. I've seen the documents in her apartment. Very thorough work." "You've been watching her, protecting her. Anonymous security upgrades for her apartment building, trust fund contributions for her wedding, donations to her school's supply budget. I couldn't be her mother, but I could be her guardian angel." Miranda stared at her, struggling to process the revelation. "You could have exposed me at any time." "Yes, but that would have destroyed her world, and building her a good world was more important than destroying yours." They talked for 2 hours. Miranda explained her desperation for a child, her belief that Alexandra was too damaged by war to be an effective mother, her conviction that she was saving Lily from an unstable life. Alexandra described the legal battles, the financial ruin, the decades of searching and planning and preparing for this moment. "What do you want?" Miranda asked finally. "I want to meet my grandson." I want Lily to know that she had another mother who never stopped loving her. I want to be part of her life without replacing you in it. And if she chooses to have nothing to do with you, I'll respect that choice. I've learned that love sometimes means accepting what's best for the other person, even when it's not what you want for yourself. Miranda was quiet for a long time, processing the implications of Alexandra's presence in their carefully constructed lives. Finally, she pulled out her phone. "Lily? It's Mom. Can you come over tonight? There's someone I need you to meet." The conversation that followed was the hardest of Alexandra's life. Sitting in Miranda's living room, holding her grandson while explaining to her daughter why the mother she had mourned was actually alive and searching for her. Lily listened without judgment, asking questions that revealed both her intelligence and her professional training in dealing with family trauma. "You're really my biological mother?" Lily asked finally. "Yes, but Miranda raised you. She's earned the title of Mom through 20 years of love and sacrifice. I'm just hoping there might be room in your life for both of us." Lily looked between the two women who had shaped her existence in such different ways. "I need time to process this. It's a lot to take in." "Of course. Take all the time you need." Over the following months, Alexandra integrated slowly into their lives. Sunday dinners became occasions for 3 generations to share stories, with Alexandra filling in missing pieces of family history, while Miranda provided context for the life they had built together. Lily navigated the complex emotions of having 2 mothers with the same grace she brought to managing her classroom of 8-year-olds. Marcus, initially suspicious of Alexandra's motives, gradually accepted her presence as he saw how much joy she brought to Lily's life. Baby James became the bridge between past and present, equally loved by both his grandmothers. Alexandra's apartment filled with photos she had never been able to take. First Christmas morning, baby's first smile, family gatherings that included her by right rather than surveillance. She'd been given something she had never dared hope for, a second chance at the family she had lost. On James's first birthday, Alexandra gave Lily a gift that summarized their journey, her grandfather's military compass, passed down through 3 generations of soldiers who had all found their way home from war. "True north always leads home," Alexandra said, reading the engraving. "It just took me 20 years to figure out that home isn't a place. It's the people who love you even when you've been away too long." Lily held the compass, understanding its significance. "This will stay in our family. James will carry it someday, and it will remind him that family isn't just about biology. It's about the people who choose to love you, even when loving you costs them everything." Alexandra smiled, her mission finally complete. She had eliminated thousands of enemies, but her greatest victory was learning not to eliminate the one person who stood between her and her daughter. Miranda had stolen 20 years of Alexandra's life, but she had used those years to give Lily something precious, a childhood filled with stability, love, and security. The perfect revenge was choosing no revenge at all. Target, justice; method, forgiveness; result, family reunification; mission accomplished. Alexandra had waited 20 years for the perfect shot. When the moment came, she discovered that the most powerful weapon in her arsenal was the discipline not to use it. Sometimes the greatest victory comes not from pulling the trigger, but from having the wisdom to lower the rifle. In Lily's backyard, 3 generations played together under the Arizona sun: Alexandra, Miranda, Lily, and baby James. Former enemies, now family. The sniper with 2,847 confirmed kills had finally learned that some targets are worth missing, and some battles are worth losing. Alexandra had found her way home. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, you can subscribe to see more incredible stories like this one.